This 39 Dunedin News Bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on 39 Dunedin News, wild weather cuts electricity to thousands of homes across the city, with many waiting to be reconnected. A new cancer screening program is criticised by local experts who say it will create uncertainty. And mud tanks in South Dunedin get a pre-winter clean in an effort to reassure residents. Good evening, Dunedin. I'm Rebecca Dupree. Thousands of residents have spent the day waiting for power to be restored to their homes. High winds caused damage to power lines around the region, cutting electricity to more than 7,000 properties last night, and some locals are still being left in the dark.
Looking over the affected areas, Delta has been working night and day to restore electricity to homes in which residents have spent hours powerless.
There's a lot of storm-related damage, a lot of damage to trees and down power lines. So that's probably one of the more significant wind events that we've had probably over the last 30 years. And we've got crews who've attending multiple sites to effect repairs.
7,500 residents lost power last night due to severe winds damaging power lines and trees. Outages affected residents all over the city, from Port Chalmers to South Dunedin, as well as outlying areas in central Otago.
It just went out. I was watching TV, and all of a sudden everything just went out with everything. All of a sudden I thought, oh, what's going on?
Arrived at the house and all in darkness. So we sat in the dark for a while and went back home and got to bed in the dark.
It went out at about 20 past 6, but it was very brief, just the computer shut down and everything like that, and then it all fired back up within a few moments later. So
Delta is now working to restore electricity to those still without power. 6,000 homes are back in the circuit, but there's still another 1,800 to be connected.
We're working really hard to try and get people back on as quick as possible, but there has been severe damage, so we will know later today the expectation of whether we can get everyone back on and when.
Delta staff are warning residents to be mindful of hazards such as fallen power lines and trees. Annabelle Dick, 39 Dunedin News.
And power has been restored to more houses since we spoke to Delta. The manager of Ulverston Historic Home has been awarded a prestigious scholarship to study in the United Kingdom. Jeremy Smith says he's delighted to be attending the Attingham Trust Summer School in England this July. The Clark Collection Scholarship was founded in 2003 by heritage advocate Errol Clark. Smith will be focusing on historic architecture and decorative arts while abroad. The 3-week course is centred around old English country estates and the domestic collections within. About 40 people from around the world attend each year. It's regarded as the leading study opportunity of its type. Cancer experts are criticising the government's haste in implementing a new cervical cancer screening program. They say it'll cost more and create uncertainty for women unnecessarily, and they say there's every reason to take a more cautious approach.
Looking over the facts, this local academic knows all about cervical cancer and says the government's being too hasty in replacing the current screening program. It's set on introducing a new HPV test by 2018.
It's likely to result in many more women having to go for colposcopy and further examination. And if you look at the randomised controlled trials, it's something of the order of between 60 and 200%, possibly, in terms of the increased demand for the services.
So that'll cost the government more and put extra strain on the health system. The new test identifies pre-cancer cells, which are often eradicated by the body naturally. Women will be tested every 5 years instead of the current 3, and experts say we should wait and watch how it works in Australia.
In the meantime, we could actually co-test, which is where you do the cytology as well as the HPV testing, and that would give us a clearer idea of what would happen in terms of a transition to an HPV test alone.
He says the current system's working well. Each year there's about 160 cases of cervical cancer and roughly 50 deaths. Without the existing program, there'd be about 400 cases annually.
Therefore, it's important that we don't jeopardise the great advantages that we have through that program. And I think a form of co-testing for a period of, say, 5 years and being observant of what happens in Australia before we implement the move to HPV testing alone would be a wise way to go about it.
A group of cancer experts have penned an editorial about their concerns over the change, but the government's made its decision. Rosie Mannins, 39, Dunedin News.
More than 1 million people have been through Toitu Otago Settlers Museum since it opened in December 2012. The millionth visitor was gifted a year's membership to the Otago Settlers Association upon entry to the museum yesterday. The Wellington woman also received a book about the history of the association, as well as a bottle of wine and some chocolates. Toitu staff are thrilled with the high attendance rate since the facility underwent a major redevelopment. They say many people are making return visits, which is testament to the wide variety of items and information on display. The Dunedin City Council has contracted a full clean-out of all mud tanks in and around South Dunedin. Over the next month, City Care staff are inspecting and emptying more than 1,500 tanks. The project is aimed at reassuring residents ahead of wet winter months.
Sucking out the sediment. These City Care contractors are hard at work completing a thorough clean-out of all the mud tanks in and around South Dunedin. The Dunedin City Council project is aimed at gaining the confidence of the area's ratepayers ahead of winter.
This is an opportunity, given the level of confidence that South Dunedin, or residents in South Dunedin, has to reassure them that that the tanks are in the best condition they can be for this particular season.
South Dunedin was one of the hardest hit areas in last June's flooding, and council staff want to avoid that happening again. McCabe says cleaning out the tanks will be beneficial for residents in the area, and staff will continue to monitor the infrastructure closely in coming months.
At this stage, it's about maintaining the asset and to ensure that it's functioning and functioning well moving into the winter season.
For this project, the council opted not to use its regular maintenance contractor, Fulton Hogan, which maintains tanks throughout the rest of the city. McCabe says the change to City Care came down to a matter of the firm's ability to gather much needed asset information.
City Care were brought in to assist us with the information side of it, the information gathering side of it, and also because they have a resource which they could bring in at short notice, which our regular contractor may have struggled to do.
Council staff will analyse the information before re-tendering the maintenance contract at the end of the year. All things going to plan, the cleaning work scheduled to be completed in a few weeks. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
Still to come on 39 Dunedin News, a local professor explains why airline emissions won't reduce, and more than 60 high school students gather to argue.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell menswear, it fits.
Tech Limited have been supplying beekeeping equipment and honey products in New Zealand for over 100 years. A specialist manufacturer of hiveware and plastic products for the beekeeping industry. They are the leading supplier of beekeeping equipment nationwide. For all your beekeeping needs, visit ecrotech.co.nz or call 0800 11 7766.
Pallet fires are growing in popularity in Otago, with people who want a clean and efficient form of home heating. The sight of a burning flame without the problems of chopping, stacking and carting wood around is a winner. Pallet fires, so easy, so efficient.
The team at Caltex North care more about you than just putting fuel in your tank. They care about you and your family. At the Caltex Valley Workshop, the skilled service team care about your safety, extending the life of your car and helping you live more economically. There's a range of modern equipment to give comprehensive warranty fitness checks and servicing to your vehicle. Come visit your only local in North East Valley and receive 10% off when you book your warranty and service together. That's your friendly Caltex Valley Workshop, 134 North Road, or book online at caltexvalley.co.nz.
Grandad loved his family and surfing, in that order. He taught me to surf, and we spent a lot of time in the water together over the years. When he died, I strapped the camera to the nose of his old board and filmed the paddle out at St. Clair. Gillian's played the video on the big screen at his funeral. Grandad would have loved having everyone come out one last surf with him.
Gillian's Funeral Services, helping families celebrate the lives of their loved ones for generations. Gillians.co.nz.
Mosgiel Mowers Plus can help you with products to make your garden maintenance jobs easier. Lawn mowers, ride-ons, chainsaws, line trimmers. Sales and service are our specialty. Mosgiel Mowers Plus. Phone 489 3572 22B Gordon Road, Mosgiel.
Bring some more joy into your world by adopting one of our adult animals at SPCA Otago. Call now on 473 8252. Please adopt a pet now. They will love you forever.
New Zealand Beeswax Limited are the quintessential beeswax, woodware and beekeeping suppliers. From the amateur beekeeper to the commercial operator, New Zealand Beeswax Limited has the quantity to meet your needs. For great prices, great service New Zealand-wide, contact New Zealand Beeswax Limited on 03 693 9189 or visit www.beeswax.co.nz.
Here's something else to look forward to sinking your teeth into every weekend with the Otago Daily Times, the Weekend Mix, your guide to what's hot in fashion, entertainment, food and more. New weekend magazine in your ODT. Pick up your copy this Saturday.
Welcome back. The local housing market is continuing to strengthen with increases in sales and settling prices. There were 215 homes sold in Dunedin last month for an average of $310,000. That's a 10% rise in prices and a jump of 39% in sales volumes. Regional commentator Liz Nidd says the only thing slowing the sector is a shortage of new listings. And on that note, let's take a look at today's financials. The NZX 50 is closed today up 7 points. It's now at 6,515. The FTSE is down 110 points. And to the exchange rates, the Kiwi dollar is down against the Australian, but we are up against the other currencies we follow. A local tourism professor is warning that air travel emissions will continue to skyrocket despite industry assurances to the contrary. Professor James Heim has co-authored a study on the subject and he joins us to discuss it. Good evening.
Good evening.
How much of has the aviation industry grown in recent decades?
It's grown massively in recent decades and transport now accounts for about 14% of global emissions, so it's a very significant issue when it comes to climate change. And aviation is a big part of that transport sector, obviously.
Is it expected to continue growing?
It's continuing to grow and it's growing very fast at about 5% a year. So it's an issue that needs to be tackled.
Are there any new technologies being pushed by airlines as being more sustainable?
Well, the airline industry has promised much about technology, and that's really the nub of the issue as far as our research is concerned. Efforts have been made to use composites to make aircraft lighter. New engine technologies and new fuels are the three main mechanisms for trying to make aviation more sustainable.
But we're not getting anywhere with any of those?
Well, aircraft have got fractionally lighter and fuels have become more efficient, but those gains have become more and more marginal whilst demand has continued to grow very, very rapidly.
And were any of those things being used widespread?
Those technologies. Some airlines, Air New Zealand is actually a good example of an airline that's very, very mindful of its environmental impact. It's got a new fleet of aircraft. They're energy efficient. They do tend to fly point to point, so less of itineraries that land and take off very frequently on their international network. So Air New Zealand is an example of an airline that's trying to do its best, but there are limitations to how much can be done.
Are any airline companies or aviation companies benefiting from common perceptions of the industry?
Well, you know, airlines will speak of their commitment to sustainability, and perhaps there is a perception gain there that when airlines do talk about sustainability that they are concerned about it. But the reality is that we've got a major issue to confront here with the emissions growing from aviation, and relatively little that can be done other than reducing demand or changing demand for aviation in terms of those questions.
Are any of those companies answerable to anybody in terms of sustainability?
The global question really falls to the International Civil Aviation Organisation, and that organisation has put a lot of stock in technology and operational efficiencies. But in the absence of more direct responses to this, it's going to be difficult to address the issue.
Are there any practical ways that airlines can reduce emissions?
Very little. As long as it's jet aviation and it's fuelled by kerosene, there's very little that can be done. But the travelling public needs to be mindful of this, and we are going to need to change our air travel behaviours. We're going to need to become very mindful of the sustainability of aviation, and we're going to have to respond to that.
What is the likely impact of more aviation pollution?
Well, the issue there is that the consequences are on our global climatic system. So the impacts are dispersed globally, and we've seen extreme weather events and such like. Obviously, we've had a recent conference in Paris that has resulted in over 200 countries signing up to tackling climate change, but aviation remains outside of that agreement.
Now, onto the study that you've co-authored. Which countries were involved?
So that was with colleagues in the UK, the Netherlands and Germany. Those are obviously very big travel markets, and those are travel markets that are going to need to change and change quite rapidly in response to this issue. Those are the countries where our co-authors are based, but Asia is also growing very, very rapidly in terms of air travel demand, so it really is a global problem.
How would you like to see your findings used?
Well, I'd like to see it used in terms of everyone really becoming attentive to this issue, both the airlines, the airline industry, also the travelling public. We're going to have to change our behaviours. We're going to have to step back from travelling very frequently, very far, very fast, and aviation is central to that. And we're going to have to become more mindful of sustainability issues in the way we choose to travel.
Professor James Hyam, thanks very much for your time.
My pleasure.
After the break on 39 Dunedin News, high school students gather for a regional debating contest, and we'll take a look at the results of this week's online poll.
Sir Bob Charles, New Zealand's greatest golfer and still going strong.
I'm sure that Sportsville was a contributing factor to my success, and I'll continue to use it.
Sir Bob Charles Sportsville, a product so good he puts his name to it.
Well, I believe Sportsville helps maintain your quality of life.
Now being used by active men and women globally to support strength and mobility.
It works for me.
Sir Bob Charles Sportsville in the new all-black pack. Call now for the Sportsville special. 0800 502 402.
Ecro Tech Limited have been supplying beekeeping equipment and honey products in New Zealand for over 100 years. A specialist manufacturer of hiveware and plastic products for the beekeeping industry. They are the leading supplier of beekeeping equipment nationwide. For all your beekeeping needs, visit ecrotech.co.nz or call 0800 117766. Christie Glass Houses and Sheds, good to grow stuff in. The first choice for gardeners for over 100 years. Built to withstand extreme weather conditions and hard work. Full range of options available. Thomas Burns Street across the road from the railway station. Free call 0800 Allens.
For professional, reliable and approachable service where your dream kitchen design can become an affordable reality, contact the team at Kitchens for Less. Call 455 9973 or visit us online.
Pregnant? Need to talk? 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Pregnancy counselling services are here to help. It's free, it's confidential. Call us now on 0800 773 462.
New Zealand Beeswax Limited are the quintessential beeswax, woodware and beekeeping suppliers. From the amateur beekeeper to the commercial operator, New Zealand Beeswax Limited has the quantity to meet your needs. For great prices, great service New Zealand-wide, contact New Zealand Beeswax Limited on 03 693 9189 or visit www.beeswax.co.nz.
every season. We're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Welcome back. More than 60 high school students are in the city formulating their best arguments on a range of topics. They're all vying for glory in this year's Russell McVeigh Otago Southland Regional Debating Championship. And there's plenty of incentive to help them argue their way to a win.
Utilising every minute they have. High school students from around the Lower South Island are preparing for their first debate in this year's regional championship. It's just the start of what's set to be a busy couple of days for competitors and organisers alike.
What we do is we have 5 rounds, where in each round we have a different motion or thing that the teams will argue. Both teams have about half an hour to prep. They go up against each other after that and basically just have a yarn.
Instead of being eliminated if they lose, the 22 teams are awarded a score for each debate they take part in. At the end of the 5th debate, the highest scoring team will face off until a winner is crowned.
That team gets to go up to Nationals in Wellington in May, I believe, and they get to go up against, well, the team that gets picked from every other region in the country, because, I mean, everything from here all the way up to Northland gets a team. They then battle it out in a tournament much like this. The team from that wins out gets to go to the Worlds competition at the end of the year, I believe it's September.
This year's turnout is about average for the competition, with more than 60 individuals taking part. Doughty says it's good to see so many young people getting into the activity and potentially reaping the benefits.
I'm a huge fan of debating. Like, I've been debating for about 4 years now. I think it's just a great way to sort of like build a lot of confidence in a lot of people. Like, I used to be quite a shy individual, but now, like, I mean, here I am giving a chat on telly. But no, I find it's really good for just getting people to get together and just like really learning about the world, having good discussions about what really matters.
Over the next 2 days, the teams will tackle several topics from American politics to taxation policy. They'll all be hoping to argue their way to the next level of competition happening later this year. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
The University of Otago is dealing with claims of sexual and racial harassment in and around campus. The authorities are also concerned about general disorder in the student quarter, and it's possible more CCTV cameras will be installed. This week's 39 Dunedin News online poll asked if you felt that tertiary students needed to be more closely monitored for their safety. 69% of you felt that they did, 31% of you did not. The second national flag referendum is taking place, with voters asked to choose between the current design and an alternative. Voting closes on the 24th of March, after which the winning option will be announced. Next week's 39 Dunedin News online poll asks you which of these 2 flags you prefer. You can vote at our website dunedintv.co.nz. And now recapping tonight's top stories on 39 Dunedin News. Thousands of residents spent the day waiting for electricity to be restored to their homes after strong winds caused havoc overnight. Cancer experts are criticising the government for its hasty decision in implementing a new cervical screening program. And the council is cleaning out all mud tanks in and around South Dunedin ahead of winter to avoid a repeat of last June's flooding. And it's time now to find out what's going to be in the weekend edition of the Otago Daily Times. Deputy Editor Craig Page joins us. Good evening.
Good evening, Rebecca. Yeah, tomorrow we're starting a new series called ODT Insight. It's a chance where we get to do a bit more investigative and in-depth look at some of the stories happening around our region. It's going to be led by senior reporter Chris Morris. And tomorrow we start off with the South Dunedin floods. Of course, middle of last year they occurred. We're talking to some local residents who are still struggling with insurance claims, trying to get money out of insurance to get some repair work done to their homes. So be worth having a look tomorrow. We're also, in our weekend mix, there's a bit of a battle going on at Waitati over the proposed wind farm out there. There's some of the people who were previously involved in it are now opposed to it. So there's quite neighbours against neighbours out there. So a bit of a battle brewing. And finally we have a look at Joe Wheeler, of course the Highlanders lock, and I guess the funny man in the team. We talked to him about his future with the Highlanders and tomorrow's game against the Lions as well.
That and a whole lot more, plus of course the weekend mix will be tucked in there as well. Thank you, Craig. Thank you. Time now for local weather.
This weather report proudly brought to you in association with Silverhorn Sportsville.
And here is today's city view. It's taken a part of the railway station reflected in a puddle. Very nice. Well, around the city at 3 o'clock today, it was a tad cool, some might say, with 11 degrees in the central city and 12 for both the Gardens and the Taieri. To the situation, the good news is an anticyclone will move over the country for the weekend. And what that means around the lower South Island tomorrow is fine weather for Invercargill and Gore with northerlies. Northerlies also for Te Anau, a bit of cloud around there, and some cloud also for Alexandra with a high of 18. Some cloud for Queenstown and Wanaka, 18 degrees each. Southerlies, but becoming fine in Oamaru with a high of 13, and a fine day awaits Twizel with 19 degrees. In Dunedin tonight, fine with light frosts possible in sheltered places, and a bit of tongue-tying with a low tonight of 3 degrees, bit nippy. Tomorrow, sunny periods, nor'easters developing 15 degrees, and on Sunday, high cloud increasing with northerlies, a high of 19, and my pick for washing day. And to the Otago Pallet Fires tidal and fishing information, high tide tomorrow morning is at 7:07, low tide on Sunday afternoon is at 3 o'clock. And fishing is not recommended this weekend due to poor conditions. And that is all from the team here at 39 Dunedin News for this week. We will leave you now with some shots of the week that was, and we'll see you again on Monday. Good night.
This 39 Dunedin News Bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.